This is going to be a catch-up video. I've got the user guide uh, displaying on the left here, and I've got foreplay snapped via Windows 11 to the right. So this is a different view than you're probably used to seeing. So I've increased the size of the icons to their highest level, oversized 80, and I'm using the pixelated snapshots. So we're basically going to drill down through the user guide here, and I'm going to talk about anything of note that I missed in the previous recordings, videos. So this is the user guide that I've been working on since 2011, and so it's available as a PDF on the website and also inside the app if you click on the button for it from the config. So it's basically broken down into the contents that you can see here. Let's go ahead and go through it until we get to the updated features post 1.8. So there's the overview, talking a little bit about its birth and the reason for its being. The requirements, I guess I should talk a little bit about that. Windows 11, of course, is the preferred that it was written on and targeted towards, and you need .NET 10, which if you don't have, it will prompt you to download from the Microsoft site. The resources, the icons and the snapshots are available on the home page. We've shown you how to get those already. And this just reiterates that it's a launcher, and it needs the MAME exe to be able to run and get all of the information. This talks about importing the XML. I guess I should mention before we go farther, that's one of the features that I didn't touch on in any of the previous videos. Let's go back into F1. So this section here is the MAME command line override, and whatever you put in here, foreplay will add to the command line that it creates to launch a game. So normally that's pretty simple. It's just MAME exe space the game. But if you want to add some additional commands here, that's where you would do it. And it's got some built-in presets here for enabling HLSL, and turning on all of the artwork. Also doing the BGFX screen chains, the default with a very high prescale. These are some of the ones that I use. You can add your own, and they will be maintained, 5 of them at a time. It'll push these presets off, so yours will continue to be saved in the config file. Anyhow, so that's there, just to make mention of it. Okay, back over here, we've got the import XML from MAME. We talked about that. There's the configuration screen that we were just at. Talks about the major parts of the UI, the title bar, and the game list that we've already discussed. And then the favorites file. I guess I should mention that as well. So here's the folder that contains my foreplay installation. It's got all of the files that came in the distribution, and the CFG file gets created. That's the one that we talked about with F3, that you can see all of its contents. And so inside here you can edit this manually if you want outside of the app. And the favorites is similar to MAME UI back in the day, and that's why I created it as such. It's basically just one machine per line, short name. And remember, I've got about 400 of them up here. Yeah, 413. And this is just the list of them. And the audit, if it if the favorites audit, if it ran across one that it didn't understand, it would flag it and put an asterisk in front of it and move it to the top of the favorites any. So you could go in there and manually alter it and fix it. And then the next time the app runs, it'll reorganize it and re-alphabetize it. So you can see the soft list proxy favorites here are prepended with their machine name and then their short names underneath. So that's how that looks. Okay, the next item we wanted to take a look at that I haven't spoken about is the MAME. 4Play has the ability to utilize a custom INI. So this is a custom game list, basically. And so when you open it up, we've got curated Golden Age. So the way that looks, it's Alt, Insert, and Delete. So you can go see Game List Full up here, and then Game List Arcade, which is a separate curated arcade, North American arcade view of things only, and then the Golden Age. And so here's 100 games from roughly 1979 to 1984-ish. And so those are kind of fun to go through. But the point is that you can create your own custom playlist, or custom game list, I should say. And you just need to separate it with this delimiter, with brackets, and it will appear in the drop down that you can use with the Alt to Delete and Alt Insert, or choose it here, a custom game list. Okay, we'll go ahead and close that guy, and I'll leave you open just in case, or minimize. Let's see. Okay, so we talked about the favorites and the home and the end key as navigation tools. It's a two-stop. When you go up and then down to home, it's the end of the favorites. End again, it's the end of the natural list. Now you can also use Alt-D, is the keyboard shortcut, to switch between game list modes. So right now we're looking at the combo of the regular game list plus favorites. You can hit Alt-D and go just to favorites, and then just to the games, and then a combo again. If we F1, you can see those choices. Excuse me, goodness, the choices are down here on this drop down. Okay, so we talked about the favorites there, and the icons. They can be in the 7-zip or a zip file, zip proper, or they can be freestanding. For a long time, 4Play wasn't able to handle archived art assets, and so I finally added that, and it actually sped things up on launch, interestingly enough. Excuse me. Okay, we talked about the art area, and I guess I should expand a little bit on the F1 config. MAME is, or 4Play is going to look for like about 14 different art types that you would find in the extras torrent, and those are, I can't remember all what they are at the same time, but it's things like titles and bosses and startup screens and a variety of different snap type assets that it will try to add if it finds them searching through the MAME structure. And you can also add them individually. You can add an archive, or you can add a folder. You can also add a DAT, although history and MAME info are the main ones that people use. You can remove them, and then you can move them up or down this list, and that will take care of the cycling each time you click on it, or use the Alt keys like Alt1, Alt2, Alt3 to go to the different art views. So we'll get back to that. And we talked about support for MAME info, DAT, and history XML. Remember, that's the tilde key, and you get the 280 zap info that you can then expand all the way across if you want to read it that way. It's kind of interesting seeing it in this shape. I rarely see foreplay in this dimension, so it's kind of interesting. All right, so the text filter dialog, we talked about that in the last video. That's this guy with all of the filtering abilities. Okay, back here. Background selection and randomization. We have talked about that too. If we click random here, you'll get a different background. You can also browse and choose one yourself that toggles off the rotate backgrounds, and you can also set the background folder itself. I'm not going to do that right now because in this shape it warps my existing backgrounds because they're of a certain aspect ratio, and so we're just going with a solid color here. As you can see, when you hover over it, you get the little tooltip telling you what the name is and the location. So back to the user guide. So here's the list of all of the accelerator navigation keys that you can use inside the app. Again, this was designed to be very keyboard centric. There's very few things that are surfaced on menus or via the mouse other than being able to click easily on art and toggle back and forth between them. And whoops, I launched Ace Driver. Well, let's take a look at it real quick. Yeah, it's beautiful. Okay. Yeah, working imperfect. Namco 22. All right, sorry for the sidetrack there. Anyhow, the function keys are all there. We've already talked about the main ones here. F11 jumping into full screen. What else? The overlay. Oh, F4 will relink relink the MAME exe, and then F5 will actually kick off an XML import if it's changed underneath it, and which is probably rare for what you guys are going to be doing in keeping MAME until a release, once a month or whatever like that. So let's see. There's a performance overlay with F7 that if you toggle on, you can see the managed memory and what the app is using, and it's just a snapshot basically. So toggle that off. And F8 is a factory reset. So this is not exposed on F1. This is just a normal reset to defaults. But if you hit F8, like so, it will tell you that it's going to perform the factory reset. And all that basically means is it's going to wipe out the database and all of the ancillary files that it creates when it culls the information from MAME. But it will maintain your favorites and custom list. So be aware of that. So we'll say no to that. Let's see. And then F9 kicks off the benchmark that I was talking about. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. You'll get a message. This will run 36 games for an emulated 90 seconds each. Completion time varies by system. For example, 11 minutes on a i7 12700K. Do you want to proceed? So if you choose yes, it's going to start grinding and kick off the benchmark. So it's trying to do blitz right now. So let's cancel that and save ourselves 11 minutes. Okay, the benchmark here, and then the BVT with F11, and I think we've taken care of the rest of those guys. Oh, and Shift Enter, I guess I should mention that. That will enter into a soft list device without going down into its soft list. So it's like turning on a console, excuse me, without a cartridge in it. And there are some that works for, and some that it doesn't. But you're able to do that, and it works for certain other things, like certain chess games in MAME, where you can just launch it without the additional chess cartridge or whatever you want to, if you want to just play it without that. So talks about the external files that get generated in the foreplay directory underneath, talks about the CFG, talks about the database, the SQLite database that gets created. Okay, and so then we get into the features that were added in the first rev of foreplay back in 2011. So let's bypass those because it's been about 90% rewritten and get up to foreplay 2.0. And so, yeah, moved from .NET 4.5 to .NET 8. That was a bridge until we got to 9 and then went to 10. And then the big thing was going to a DirectX GPU accelerated pipeline for all of the displays. So this entire control is DirectX. No more GDI. And so, yeah, then I moved from LiteDB to SQLite, SQLite. And the driver for all of this modernization, as I mentioned in one of the other videos, was the inability of the previous version of foreplay to render properly on a 4K monitor that I had just gotten. And it was very small, and you had to cheat with the compatibility setting and turning on the DPI compatibility, which basically stretched it out but blurred it. So we got everything looking nice and sharp now. Okay. Next feature was the software list devices, and so that of course means going to like the Atari 2600 and clicking OK, and you'll go down into it and be able to select any of these games and kick them off. While we're in here, we kind of have to launch, Pac-Man. Okay. That was a big gift. I think it was pretty expensive at the time when I got it, when it was released. Like everybody else, it was pretty disappointing, but you didn't have much else. It got a little bit better with Miss Pac-Man when the time came. Okay, so that's the support for software list device. The custom game list we talked about already, where you can have your own. You can add things like maybe all of the Last Blade or all of the SNK fighters into a list, and those will be the only ones that display. And that tells you how to do it. The grid view. This was a big change. Let me back out of the Atari 2600. Now remember, this is the normal game list view, and toggling into the grid view, you just use the tab key, and there's the grid view. And then one more takes up the rest of the screen and takes away the art area. and then we'll go back to the original. Okay, background brightness detection mode. Now this is a feature that you haven't seen yet, but basically the system, the app will detect if the background image is over a certain luminance, and if it is, it will switch to the black theme. So let's see if I can do this real quick and show you what it looks like. So we'll choose Bright Help and click OK. And as you can see, we've gone to the black theme, and back here you've got a black border, and you've got black text, and pretty much everything is black. So we'll leave it at that. That's what that detection mode means. And so I had that feature, built that feature before the dynamic themes, and so the dynamic themes with their color built off of this. So if you get a bright background in your rotation, it will go to black. You can turn that off, of course, if you want to. And the image atlas for icons and binary versions of History XML and MAME info DAT, that's just making the sausage in the background to speed things up. The History XML and the DAT are transferred into a different format when they're launched, so they're easier and quicker to read. Let's see. Additional features: foreplay config is alphabetized and sectionalized. That's fine. There was also another feature that I had turned on when I released the second version, and that is auto recording of games. So it recorded INP files automatically. You could toggle them off in the CFG, but it wasn't exposed in the configuration. So what this does, if you have it on, is that if you launch a game and play it, as long as you play it, it's going to be recording an INP. And then you can go back in, hold the control key down on your keyboard, and launch the game again, the smoking man from X-Files there on Area 51, and it will play back your recording. And so that's useful for me for my workflow, taking snapshots. So I'll play a game, maybe a fighting game or whatever, and actually record it, and then I'll be able to go back and pick and choose the exact screenshot that I want to use for the snap. So that was a feature that was added in there. Okay, nearest neighbor scaling is now an option. That's the pixelated choice here that we're currently in. That looks a little bit better when you increase the size of the UI, and the whole thing has to expand. Otherwise, it's a little bit softer. Let's see, simulated scanline effect. That's not what I wanted here. Let's go back over here. And so it's kind of tougher to see at 4K on a large dimension UI. But if you click this, it's going to simulate scan lines. As you can see, it's a little bit tough to see here, but there are small scan lines, or lines rather, that go up and down. And that's a little bit better. You can see it there. So we'll take that off. Clone icons and the focus highlight are now transparent and controlled. Right, so these guys didn't used to be transparent, so now they are. Then we go to 2.1, we move from .NET 8 to .NET 9. Then we talk about the tilde peek, which is that. And you can filter for something, Donkey Kong, And if you hold down Shift, let's see, Shift Control and C, it will copy out a list of all of this to the clipboard, and then you can just paste all of that into it in a tab separated, and you can toss it in Excel and do things in there if you want. Okay, the F2 and F3 log combine. Yeah, so there we go. Those are basically just the overlays. The F8 doing the factory reset, aspect ratio, constraining sizing. F7 for the display dashboard, we talked about that. The BVT on F10, show parents and filter results, that's a choice. So those are right here, show parents and filter results and show favorites and filter results. So sometimes if you just want to search for the clones, you might not want to see the parent, but you know, I make this available so you can choose whichever one you want. Okay. Okay, I think I'm going to cut this one off for now and see. Well, let's keep on going. So Alt-I cycling through the various icon scale presets. We've talked about that. F11 in and out of the full screen mode. We did that. Vertical scroll bar has been added. We've got that over here. That didn't used to be a thing. Let's see. Control F filter presentation. That's the addition of the downward arrow showing all of the examples. You can read about that there. The 4Plays version information on F1 right there, and the DAT Peek's feature key is now configurable. I found out that some of my British users of 4Play don't have a similar tilde in the right upper left corner, and so for them it's OEM 8 for the DAT Peek, and so I added that, and they're able to use that now too. And you can edit that in the config or right there if you want to. So let's go back here. Any other things? Legacy error detection, that's what we talked about previously. If you try to launch a game and you don't have the ROMs for it, MAME will complain, and then it'll pass that on to 4Play, which will show you that it can't be started. The benchmark script is now inside. We talked about that already. You can kick it off here or with the function key 9. Let's see, and the dynamic color theme. So that's when we added those. And here's a description of the different types and what they do. You can read those. Expanded key customization. So we surfaced 6 of them here, and the rest of them are available in the CFG that you can edit. We talked about the favorites any audit, and farther down, scroll bar thumb color right there can be changed if you want to. I should also mention while we're in here that you have the option of going down to custom here for a theme and setting your own colors, and then going forward the custom will be yours and won't be overwritten unless you do an F8 factory reset. So let's go back to black. Okay. Okay. And so we talked about a little bit about the arcade game list, which I'll access here on F1 and choose arcade. We're still filtered on Donkey Kong, so we'll back out of that. So that gives us 11,000 arcade games. Let's further cut that down to remove the clones and remove the non-working games, and you end up with 3,440 arcade coin-op games, and that's sort of a return to the days before MES was added into MAME, if you want to return to that era. So we'll go ahead and go back to the full, turn those back on. Okay, support for zip and the 7Z art packs. We talked about that already. Multiple MAME launches and tiling. Okay, this is a very niche feature that came about because one of the contributors to MAME, whose name is SailorSat, was doing work on playing games that are linked inside of MAME. And so I thought it would be interesting to be able to kick off multiple instances of MAME running the same game and then communicate between them. So the way this works is you hold down the Shift key and a number like 4 for Mario Brothers, and then you hit Enter, and it goes ahead and kicks off 4 instances of them. I just happened to choose one that had a warning, and so it didn't start all automatically. Anyhow, so you've got multiple instances up to 9 that you can actually show. It's pretty pretty amusing, but like I said, pretty niche. And there's one more that was running. We'll close that down. Okay, and the move from .NET 9 to 10 happened. Okay, so we're getting down to the most recent version release. Art border, size, and opacity now have a preview box. We've seen that. That's this right here. Verbose logging is now a toggleable option, and that is right here. Cuts down on the chatter in the log a little bit if you want it. Startup time is displayed in F1. We've talked about that. That's right here. Always trying to get it quicker. Let's see. The 5-layer history drop down to the MAME command line override in F1. So that's this guy. Right now it doesn't have any that I have put in there. We could type in no window or window. It's already doing window if we do Mario Bros. But if we then go back, it will appear in the well, so you'll be able to use that. Okay. User guide button on F1. We've talked about that. That's right here. It'll kick it off. An individual machine can now be benchmarked. Okay, that's a feature. If you hit Control B, it will run the benchmark for 90 seconds on 90 emulated seconds for that game. So let's go ahead and do that for Mario Brothers. And we've got 1,600% speed on this particular machine. So that's how you can benchmark an individual game. The full benchmark does 36 games at 90 seconds each and takes 11 minutes because some of them are really heavy, like Scud Race, Model 3 games, and some of the Naomis take a long time. All right. Let's see. Allow non-working machine to display its own art asset if there is one. That's fine. No snap scan lines on vector games. Those are just little tweaks. Auto-populate paths for current common art types if present. Okay. Oh, and the app now hides itself. That was a request. Expanded the universal filter to index all software list permutations across platforms. And so I had to pull that back in because it just was too much. Not hundreds of thousands, but at least tens of thousands of hits. And so we chopped it down to creating a sibling view. Okay, and let's see, rework the status line on the game properties to provide more detail and clearer information presentation. So that means when you select a game and do an Alt-Enter, you're going to get my properties pop up and overlay. And what we were talking about here is the status details about what makes a game working according to MAME and how it uses its color schemes, the green, orange, and red for not working, or orange for imperfectly working. So now I made the effort to match the core, and that should look good. So we'll go up to Ace Driving, do a Alt-Enter. You see it's working, but it's imperfect because of the graphics, and the LAN is unemulated. Another one is another pain point was Primal Rage. So this one is working but imperfect, but it's marked red the same way that it is in MAME because of the protection is not handled. Oh, how I wish that would get fixed, but the people that did it didn't share it with MAME, the guys that reverse engineered it. That would have been nice. Okay, so I think that is the last one for the most recent release of Foreplay, and so I'll leave it at that. This is a long one, so we'll talk to you next time. Thank you.